Welcome to a new episode.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Qualifications podcast, helping plumbing and construction students, apprentices and future tradespeople build skills, confidence and a solid career. As always, I'm your host Chris Bailey, and today we're talking about something that doesn't always get the spotlight, but absolutely controls how smoothly your job will run. We're diving into documentations used in construction projects. Now I know what you might be thinking, Chris has signed up to fit boilers and vent pipe, not shuffle bits of paper around. But here's the truth, on a real site your ability to understand and use documents, things like takeoff sheets, contracts, delivery notes, wiring diagrams and bills of quantities can be the difference between getting paid on time or chasing money for weeks, a smooth install or a costly redo, or being seen as just another pair of hands, or someone the site manager genuinely relies on. In this episode we'll break down the main types of documentation you'll see on site, what they actually do in plain English, and how they affect your work, learning and future pay packet, and some real world style scenarios so you can picture this on an actual job, not just in a textbook. So, grab a brew or keep them earphones in while you're on the bus or cleaning out the van, and let's get into it. So let's start with a simple idea. A construction project is like a huge group project at college, but with thousands of pounds on the line, tight deadlines and a lot of different trades involved. On site we've got plumbers, electricians, heating and ventilation engineers, brickies, carpenters, site managers, quantity surveyors and many, many more people. If everyone just gets what needed doing, when and for how much, the job would be absolute chaos. That's where documentation comes in. All the documentations are basically the language of the project. They record what's been agreed, show what needs to be installed and where, track what's been ordered and delivered, and sets out how people get paid. If you can read and understand and use these documents even at an apprentice level, you become far more valuable to an employer. So let's start off with takeoff sheets. In the industry, takeoff means picking information and measurements out of a drawing and documents so you can work out what materials and labour are needed. Imagine if you're a plumbing apprentice working on a small apartment block. The drawing shows cold and hot water runs, pipe sizes, routes to bathrooms and kitchens. Your supervisor might say, can you do a quick takeoff for the first floor? I need to know how many metres of 15mm, 22mm copper we need, plus the fittings. You'd look at the drawings, measure the runs and write it all down on a takeoff sheet. 25 metres of 15mm copper, 15 metres of 22mm copper, number of elbows, tees, couplers, isolation valves, etc. That sheet then helps with costing the job, ordering the right amount of materials and avoiding running out mid-install. For electricians it's similar. They might take off linear meters of cable, numbers of sockets, switches and so on. So even if you're just starting out, get in the habit of asking, can I see the takeoff? Or better yet, can I help with the takeoff so I can understand how you're planning the jobs? The more comfortable you are with this, the more you move from just doing what you're told to actually understanding how the job is put together. Next up, contracts. A contract is basically a promise or a set of promises that the law will enforce. In construction, a contract spells out who will be doing the work, what work they'll be doing, how much they'll be getting paid, and under what conditions. You'll hear different contract types like design and build, construction management, measured term, and repair and maintenance. Now, as a student or apprentice, you might not be the one signing the contracts, but they still affect you. Working for a plumbing contractor or a maintenance contractor or a housing association, the contract might say every call-out includes 1 hour of labour, extra time is charged at a set hourly rate, and parts are charged according to an agreed list. That agreed list is often called a schedule of rates. A schedule of rates is basically a price list that sets out what gets charged for labour, staff time and plant hire. So equipment like diggers, access towers and so on. This kind of schedule is crucial when the exact amount of the work isn't known up front. For example, repair and maintenance jobs, you don't know how many call-outs or breakdowns you'll get in a year. So rather than pricing the full year perfectly in advance, you agree rates for different types of work. Here's why it matters to you. If you understand that there's a contract behind the job and that your time and labour are being charged according to the schedule of rates, you'll start seeing why timekeeping, accurate paperwork, and job sheets are taken so seriously. You're not just fixing a leak, you're performing work that is billable under a contract. Now let's talk about estimates and quotes. You might remember these from the early sessions, but let's keep it simple. An estimate is basically a best guess of how much a job will cost or how long it will take. A quote is a promise to do a specific work at an agreed price. So, estimates equals we think it will cost about this much, and quotes will do this job for this price. Why is this important for you as a learner or an apprentice? Because when your boss sends someone, maybe you and a senior engineer, to a job, they often working on the back of an estimate or a quote. If you gave a quote to install a boiler and pipework for £2,000 and the job takes twice as long, as it should because materials were ordered wrong or there were mistakes, the business loses money. As you progress, you'll likely be involved in visiting a property, measuring up, figuring out what's needed, doing and helping to prepare estimates and quotes. If you can read the job sheet or quote and think, right, this is what we promised to deliver and this is how long we're allowed for it, then you're already thinking like a leading installer, not just an apprentice. Let's move to something you'll see all the time on site: delivery notes and purchase orders. A delivery note is a document that comes with materials from the supplier to site. It lists what's been delivered, quantities, sometimes orders or reference numbers. Imagine you're waiting on a delivery of pipes, valves and fittings. The lorry turns up, drops off the pallet and hands over the delivery note. The temptation is to sign it and crack on. But here's the key: the delivery note should be checked carefully. If what's on the note doesn't match what was actually been delivered or what was ordered, you can end up with missing fittings, wrong pipe sizes, delays on jobs, and sometimes arguments over payments later. So even as an apprentice, you can add real value by counting items against the delivery note, flagging missing or incorrect items straight away. Now, connected to that is the purchase order, often called a PO. A purchase order is a document issued by the buyer to the seller that states what materials or components are being bought, quantities, prices, delivery details. When a supplier expects the PO, it can actually become a legal contract document. So in simple terms, PO, that is what we want to buy, and delivery notes, this is what we actually sent to you. If the PO and what turns up on site doesn't match, someone needs to sort that out. Ideally before the trades get on site and are stood around with no materials. Even if you're just one unpacking boxes, you're part of making sure the paperwork matches the reality. Now let's talk about something you might hear on bigger jobs: the bills of quantities. A bill of quantities are usually put together by a quantity surveyor. This is like a massive detailed shopping list for the whole project. It can include details about the client and the architect, descriptions of materials, measured quantities for each task, details of components required across the project. Think of a block of facts: how many toilets, how many basins, how many meters of hot and cold pipework, how many radiators, how many valves, fittings and clips. All of that carefully measured and itemised goes into a bill of quantities. This document is used to produce quotes and estimates, plan budgets and labour, and compare different contractors' prices on a like-for-like basis. You might not be the one writing the bill of quantities, but you'll often find that the measurements you're using, the systems you're installing, and even the ways tasks are broken down are all linked back to what's been sent out in the bill. Understanding that this exists helps you see that nothing on a big project is random. It's all planned, costed, and documented. Now, a really practical one. Wiring diagrams. Even as a plumber, you'll come across these, especially if you're working on boiler, controls, pumps, or building services engineering. A wiring diagram shows the actual interconnections within a circuit, how the power is supplied, the route and positioning of the wiring, and the positions of junctions, sockets, switches, and distribution boards, and so on. You'll often use these alongside layout diagrams that show the physical position of things. Why does this matter to you? Well, if you're installing a boiler or an unvented cylinder with controls, there will be a wiring diagram in the manufacturer's instructions. If you're working alongside electricians, wiring diagrams are how they make sense of what connects to what. Being able to read and talk through a wiring diagram, even at a basic level, makes you far easier to work with on a multi-trade building services job. And remember, there's also lots of other documents used across the construction process, some of which are legally binding contract documents. So the takeaway here is on-site paperwork isn't just admin. It's how people communicate, agree work, and protect themselves legally. Let's bring this back to you as a student and apprentice or someone training for a technical qualification. You might be thinking, okay, Chris, that's a lot of paperwork talk. What should I actually do with this? Well, here's a few practical steps. Ask to see the documents. Next time you're on site, ask your supervisor, can I see the takeoff for this job? What did we quote the client for this? Can I check the delivery note with you? Practice reading them. Treat them like part of your revision. Look at a quote and then look at the actual work being done, compared to what's on a delivery note and what's in a storeroom, and ask how the bill of quantities or schedule of rates affect the job you're on. When your coursework talks about contracts, estimates, quotes, and documentation on site, picture the real-life examples we've talked through today. The block drain call-out, the boiler quote, the apartment block takeoff. Think of a future tradesperson not as a student. The people who progress faster in the industry aren't just good with the tools, they understand the paperwork too. Because once you can read the drawings, help with takeoffs, understand quotes and estimates, and check delivery notes and POs, you're not just a pair of hands, you're someone who helps with the business running smoothly and profitably. Alright, let's wrap up. Today we've been looking at documents used in construction projects, including takeoff sheets, turning drawings into material lists, contracts and schedules of rates, how work and pay are agreed, estimates and quotations, the money side of the job, delivery notes and purchase orders, making sure the right kit turns up, bill of quantities, big project shopping list, and wiring diagrams and other documents, the technical language of building services. If you start paying attention to these documents now, while you're still learning, you'll be miles ahead where most people are at your stage. You'll understand not how to install something, but why the job is planned, priced and delivered the way it is. If you found this episode helpful, do me a favour, follow and subscribe to the Copper Connection podcast from wherever you get your podcasts from. Share this episode with a mate on your course or another apprentice on site. And if your platform allows, leave a quick rating or review. It really does help more learners find the show. Thanks for listening, keep learning, keep asking questions, and I will catch you on the next episode of the Copper Connection podcast.
We'll be back next week. In the meantime, please subscribe and thanks for listening.